There are currently, I think, 6.5 billion people who don't have access to bank accounts.
Oh,
And this
that's
bridges that
crazy.
gap. Bitcoin is like innovation without permission. This bridges that gap where now they don't have to go through banks. And there's nothing I can't stand more than when I work my ass off to make money, to multiply my money, and the banks want to get involved in everything. They want to control every aspect, every transaction, track every single thing. When I found out blockchain was for the people and you didn't have to track it, the government wasn't in it and they can't stop it, that's when I started to go all in. Blockchain is one of the most powerful things that this world has ever seen.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand the power of the actual blockchain versus, they're like, oh, crypto, Bitcoin, I want to get into it. Blockchain is the real power move. You know what I mean? So talk about what blockchain is, because I remember asking you for hours, like, I still don't get, this is me. I still don't get it. I still don't get it. And this was 4 years ago. And now I'm finally starting to get it. And that's the real leverage, is blockchain. So talk about the power of blockchain. Just simplify what it is for people if you even can. But I think that's something that people need to realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, because, and again, it's such an important concept to understand. It's sort of like with the financial system, you know, we use it, but a lot of people don't really understand how it works. And with blockchain, what is just so exciting is that it's a new technology that we call also Internet 3.0. It is that disruptive. Before, we weren't able to transact directly, what we call peer-to-peer, right? From one person to another without there being a third party. If you would send money from A to B, there was a central point of control, a bank that would see all the transactions. That's why it takes days, and that's why you pay fees on top of it. But with blockchain, again, you 100% are in control, in charge of your money. And this is where people get scared. They're like, oh, now I have to take care of these keys, right? These like long encrypted keys, and store them safely. But again, when you take responsibility and you cannot call someone, there's like not a customer service at Bitcoin, right? It belongs to everyone. And again, we're just at the start. There's about like, I don't know, 6,000 crypto projects that are right now doing something. But if you compare that to how many companies are out there, right, doing something, then how many issues can you really solve? And so I always think about what are some of the centralized systems today, and where we think they are maybe corrupt or they are not really regulated well. So how can we replace that, maybe using blockchain technology? Because again, blockchain offers not just the benefit of having transparency, it's a lot faster. You have transactions that are immediate. And you also, it just gives you more privacy and safety as well, even though everything is transparent. At the same time, it also gives you that safety that you can rely on, because you know every single transaction cannot be manipulated. It cannot be changed. Once a transaction goes through, it is timestamped on the blockchain and everybody in the world has access to it.
One of the biggest things that gets me excited is the upside, how people don't realize that it's just the beginning. Bitcoin is, yes, the money for the people. And there are currently, I think, 6.5 billion people who don't have access to bank accounts. And this bridges that gap. Bitcoin is like innovation without permission. This bridges that gap where now they don't have to go through banks. And there's nothing I can't stand more than when I work my ass off to make money, to multiply my money, and the banks want to get involved in everything. They want to control every aspect, every transaction, track every single thing. When I found out blockchain was for the people and you didn't have to track it, the government wasn't in it and they can't stop it, that's when I started to go all in. So I want people to understand that that's such a powerful force, to have privacy and to not have the government control your money, which is what they've been doing for hundreds of years. So I love that.
Yes, and also just keep in mind, like we're recently hearing about these things with the Federal Reserve, like now having that 0%, it's called fraction reserve, right? I think in English, yes, where it's like they can just print limited amounts of money, whereas
which they're gonna do.
are doing trillions, and it's you know, it's crazy. It is hurting us, and that was also one of the things where I always said this from the beginning, like why poverty? It's just unnecessary in our world. We have enough resources. It's just the distribution of things, the people who are in control, that, you know, that have been in control the past hundreds of years. And so we need to really change that fundamental system. And so this is the real part where blockchain gets exciting, because it's like, we have a technology to do that. Before, it wasn't possible.
Mm-hmm.
If you were the average farmer, right, and you were getting like your yearly salary, you didn't really have access to information like that, weren't able to connect with people. It just wasn't possible in that age. But now we have the tools to do it. And absolutely, with blockchain, I truly think it can revolutionize the economies. We're moving to like these purpose-based economies, not country-based. And it's really beautiful to witness. I mean, in Argentina, right, the crypto has already surpassed their own fiat currency. So
wow.
seeing things like that is mind-blowing. So.
Love it. Matt, can you second? I know you're very selective like me. You don't pay no mind to a lot of things. You're very focused on like your business and your family. But you've taken like crypto as like it's your baby in a way, where you're studying it, you're learning it, you're investing in yourself, you're in groups. What are you so excited about crypto-wise that you can explain to people?
So what I'm really excited about is just kind of seconding what you and Uma have said already, and that is the transition of wealth. There has not been any other time on the face of this planet where the opportunity has been so high to transfer wealth from people who didn't have it before, from people who did, right? And the great thing about blockchain technology, the great thing about this shift of this transition of wealth, is that you have the opportunity now to be a part of that. And like you said, the government controls everything. The banks control everything. So historically, we've kind of been at their mercy, interest rates when you're getting into a house and all this other stuff. And for example, if I go to Japan, or if I want to wire money to Japan, every single bank, the Bank in the United States, the bank in Japan, they're all going to take a piece of my hard-earned money that I worked for. And so becoming your own bank, that's the most powerful move that crypto is really giving to people, allowing them to do that. And if Uma says, hey, I've got this boat that I'm trying to sell in the Mediterranean, and I go, hey, I want that boat, I have the ability to transact with her directly without involving anybody else. And that's really powerful. And that gives power back to us as retail, as entrepreneurs, as people, just as society in general, where we're not, underneath the boot heel of governments and other controls and manipulations that have been being used for hundreds of years.
And we talked yesterday about a lot of questions people had too were, but what about if the government stops it? Or what about if they make it this? And they literally can't. So blockchain, unless they turn off the internet, which is physically impossible.
Exactly. So unless you turn off the internet, and even then, right, there are other ways to still transact using blockchain. So it's a measure of control that we get to take back into our own lives. We get to be our own banks. We get to choose how we spend that money. And the other thing that I think that's really powerful about blockchain is that it solves a huge problem, and that is a world currency. And it really flattens the world even more.
So there's really no way they can stop it. And what I'm seeing when I'm studying and talking to my inner circle and Uma and you guys, not only are they not stopping it, they're now investing in it, and some of them silently. So there's a lot of agencies, a lot of big companies that are putting in hundreds of millions to Bitcoin right now. That's how powerful it is.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons why you've seen such a huge demand in it, and it's such a huge, new all-time highs with Bitcoin, is that you have these really big companies like Grayscale, PayPal, Square, WhatsApp, all these people coming in, and they're buying up more supply of Bitcoin than exists right now. They're buying up like 140% of Bitcoin, every Bitcoin that's being mined right now, because they're realizing that this transition is going to happen. And because they're such big companies with big platforms and big infrastructure, they want to be able to have as much, authority or as much pull as they can on there.
Another thing is there something you did, or was it over time that you turned your uncertainty into confidence, where you're putting a lot of money into it? There's always a risk in everything in the world. But what turned your uncertainty into massive confidence? Was it just consistent due diligence and research?
It was a lot of research, I'm not going to lie, but it was also paying attention to the people who mattered. So for example, let's just mention the Winklevoss twins, okay? They created Facebook, and then Zuckerberg came by, and I I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically he's like, oh, it's mine and I have ownership of it. The Winklevoss twins sued him and won millions and millions and millions of dollars. And do you know what they did? They put it all into Bitcoin, and they created the online exchange Gemini, and they are billionaires because of it now.
I've seen a lot of predictions that it's a pretty solid prediction that Bitcoin will be at 100K by the end of the year. A lot of people have said that. Anthony Pomp have said that. Some people say 250,000, some say 75K. So what's your prediction, or both of you guys, for Bitcoin this year towards the end, and then the next couple of years, like based on all your research, percentage wise?
Bitcoin is not mainstream yet, right? Hasn't reached the critical mass. So getting in right now is a good advice, either like in any way, even though it might be a like really long-term thinking, long-term. Of course, it has a significance to a significant rise. It already had, which always happens after a halving, right? We had the Bitcoin halving, which means that the mining gets cut in half, so that the miners only receive half of the rewards that they initially got, which always in return results in the price increasing months after. And we've seen this. The gains have been, and I actually looked this up, it was like 8,990% the first halving that happened. The second halving, it was like 3,035%. And now at the third halving, we're at 1,020%. So you can see that, you know, these gains coming, and this is why we're right now in this bull market. And, you know, Bitcoin already in its whole time of existence had an increase of about like 9 million or something %. So that is insane to just think about. But now with this third halving, which will probably go until, I would say, like the end of the year, I definitely see us reaching the 6 figures. Now, of course, what we can expect there to be a like cool down before the next bull run. And over time, as you saw with those percentages, first being 8,000, 3,000, 1,000, that increases and becomes less over time. So it's always good to get in earlier. But again, like what's going to be the next halving? Maybe 400%, and like what's 400%, right? It's still really good. But of course, as I said, keep in mind that less Bitcoins come into existence. So definitely, I think mining is not the right strategy to go, but investing that much more. So the profits, yeah, will still be there. I always tell people, like, because I always get the calls as soon as Bitcoin goes up and, you know, it's green, everybody wants to invest. But like the most basic trading or investing strategy is you buy when it's low and you like sell when it's high, which is like a basic rule. Everybody knows this. It sounds so simple, like, you know, don't buy when it's green and up there, and you want to buy when it's like down there, and people get fearful. It's a difficult thing to actually do and participate in, because when it's really down there and people think, well, it could go lower, right? But you want to jump in at the right point. But again, if you are just new and you're not an experienced trader, I just recommend to buy and hold it really long term. Again, maybe 5-10 years, forget about it. And yeah, just make sure you save your keys.
Let me share this, guys, too. We want to ease some of that confusion, because this last, I guess, mini little bear run, this last dip, we sold at the top, and I tweeted it, and then we bought when it was at about 30, 31, 32. I've never been so calm and so excited about the dip, because I have you guys to talk to and my other experts to talk to. So we're going to continue to give you emails, continue to share things where you know what's going on, because a lot of people that get into Bitcoin that are new or that don't understand or value Bitcoin or blockchain, when it goes down, they're like, oh my gosh, I got to sell. If they're scared and selling right away and they don't understand long-term, they don't deserve Bitcoin anyways, right? So we want to make sure you guys understand it is a long-term play, but you also got to know some of the short-term moves, which is what we're here for. So what are your thoughts, Matt, in terms of this year and then longer term as well? Because I know we've talked in the past, just like Uma said, you're confident it for sure will get to $1 million a coin. Like, absolutely. Not even a question.
Not even a question. Yep. And obviously time's going to do that, right? So more adoption, more people coming in, more smart money coming in. And just to kind of like identify really quick, when you hear these kind of key terms, right? Like smart money are people who are like hedge fund managers, big, huge multi-billion-dollar companies and so forth, who have a lot of money and have played the stock game, have played the, you know, derivatives and options markets and stuff for so long. That's smart money. They know how to manipulate the market. And we have such a low market cap right now. We're just under $1 trillion in market cap for all of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin has the lion's share of that right now. you're going to see smart investors and smart money coming in, and just like Uma said, they're going to be buying when it's low and they're going to be selling when it's high. And it's really triggering for retail investors like us, and they call us dumb money, right? But do your research, right? So retail investors who don't have that, right? Like we don't have, $20 million that we're going to throw down right now and buy Bitcoin with. And so we have to be a little bit more calculated and smart with what we're doing. And I think what Uma said is key. The one thing to me, and I'm going to give you guys just a couple figures really quick. So 5 months ago, from that point, if you had invested $1,000 10 years before that into Google, you'd have $6,000 right now. If you'd invested $1,000 into Facebook, you'd have had $9,000. Amazon, $22,000. Netflix, $34,000. Tesla, $160,000. And Bitcoin, $237 million. So tell me what other industry or what other place will give you that same opportunity. So last year, if you'd invested at the beginning of the year of 2020 into Bitcoin, you'd have had a 300% increase. If you'd invested in Ethereum, you'd have had a 700% increase. And I'm just going to give you some perspective right now on why that's so powerful. So I do have money in stocks. I have a Charles Schwab account that's in a moderately high risk category. And I put $150,000 into that in October. From October until 2 days ago, I have $161,000, okay? So I made $11,000. And by all means, it's like, wow, that's really great. And the stock market did really great last year, and that's really great. But if I had invested in that $150,000 last October into Bitcoin, it would have been 10 times that, okay? So my prediction, my feeling is I think I'm a little bit more aggressive than Uma. I think that we're gonna see possibly double six figures. I think that this year we could possibly with Bitcoin see over $200,000. And I think we're gonna see that. If we're gonna see that, it's gonna be by the end of Q3.
Hey, what's up? And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this video and this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, put the notifications on, and I assure you, you'll love this content and these videos.